Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're doing a review on the new Nothing 3A. This is Nothing's latest and greatest budget-friendly phone, coming in right under $400. If you guys haven't seen my unboxing and first impressions video, make sure to click the link in the description below. But in this video today, I want to talk about why I think this is the best budget phone in 2025. Before we continue with this review, make sure to drop a like and a comment below to boost the algorithm, as well as hitting that subscribe button to see when I upload. So the first thing I want to talk about is the design. What I especially love is their see-through design on the back, where you can get a look of the internals, and it's not like a skin or a sticker, it's like the actual guts of the phone. They also have their signature glyph design here with the LEDs indicating whatever you want, like your notifications or if you have a call coming in. You do have an OLED panel in the front and it looks extremely vibrant. It does have 120 Hz refresh rate, just like your Pro model iPhones. And it does have 3 color options, either white, black, or blue. I opted for the white because I think it's the cleanest looking option. So the next thing I want to talk about is the performance. This thing is extremely quick. Mind you, this is my very first time on an Android device, so I did have to kind of learn the system and see how everything works, but everything just feels very seamless and kind of intuitive. You know, just navigating around the system, opening various applications. The loading times are just absolutely instant, which is really shocking for a $400 phone to perform at this kind of level. I even went a step further and did a speed test with this phone versus a $1,000 iPhone 16 Pro Max. And honestly, I was pretty blown away because the Nothing 3A was actually beating the loading times on the 16 Pro Max. Even though it's very minimal, you were only talking about like a 0.5 second delay between the two devices, but I try to open the applications as closely as I can, and it seems like the Nothing phone always loaded up quicker. Even gaming on this phone is extremely fluid, and the 120 Hz display just really makes it feel like a pro level phone, even though it's a budget option. Next up, I want to talk about the camera. It does have a triple layout camera, which is very nice. You have your ultra wide, your standard, along with your telephoto. And of course, you have all your different settings like your photo, portrait, video, and all your fun settings like time lapses, etc., etc. So I did take a couple of shots within the studio in a somewhat medium lit situation. And I gotta say, the quality really blew me away. It's extremely sharp. Now comparing it to the iPhone, that's when I started to see a bigger difference. The Nothing 3A definitely has a sharper camera, no doubt about it. But in terms of its colors, it does seem a little bit inconsistent. I noticed some of the shots just naturally had this extra intensity, sort of contrasty look, and it kind of looks unnatural, especially when we move to the front-facing camera when I took a selfie. It kind of makes me look almost like a zombie. The iPhone seems to be a little bit more natural looking. I'm not sure if you have to play with the settings on here, but at least straight out of the box, it does seem the camera has a lot more contrast and a lot more sharpening done, but sometimes I think it's a little bit overdone. Now the night mode on here is actually really dang good. I took a photo with all of the lights off besides the little background lights, and it really captured a lot of detail within that shot without introducing a lot of noise. Overall, I gotta say the camera's pretty nice on here, but it is a little bit hit or miss because it does kind of look different depending on how you shoot your shot. The next thing I want to talk about is the battery life. So you do have a 5,000 milliamp battery in here, but they never really claimed how long that will actually last for. And I think the reason being is because it really varies. So this phone is very customizable. Like I mentioned earlier, you do have 120 Hz on here, and it is adaptive, but you could configure it where you lock it to 120 Hz, which is what I've done. Now, when you lock it to the higher refresh rate, you are gonna consume more battery life, also depending on what applications you're using, what your brightness is. So it really varies. So I can't give you like an exact sort of number on how long this thing can last for. At least from my day-to-day usage, I can get a full day's worth of charge. Starting with 100% after a full day, right now we're sitting at 19. So when I compare it to like an iPhone 16 Pro Max, they feel pretty equivalent when you get through the day. So to recap everything, let's do a pros and cons list. Let's start with the pros. First thing is the display. You do have an AMOLED display on here with the 120 Hz, which you can either lock or put on adaptive. You do get dual SIM on here with a physical SIM card tray. So if you are going to be traveling, this is going to be very handy in third world countries where they don't use eSIM. And the third pro is the value. I think this is incredibly priced for what it offers. You do get a lot of pro features within this price bracket, and I think that is very shocking. So those are the pros. Let's talk about the cons. First things first, no wireless charging. Now I get it, for $400 you can't get everything, but still, I feel like wireless charging has been kind of a standard for a lot of phones now, and the fact that this doesn't have it is kind of a deal breaker for some people, including myself. The second con is the inconsistent camera performance. Now, like I said earlier, the camera is really sharp and really detailed, but the problem is You can take the same shot 100 times, but each time you take it, it's gonna look a little bit different. I don't know if that's my issue or I'm not taking it properly, but I do notice that some shots tend to be brighter, some shots tend to be darker. And within these 3 camera lenses, they do have a different f-stop capability. So when you are switching between the zooming settings, it does change the lighting quite a bit. And the last con we have on the list is a lack of size options. So this only comes in one size. Fits my entire hand, but it's definitely on the larger end. Personally, I do actually like the size of this phone. It kind of feels a lot like my 16 Pro Max. But you know, if you are someone who wants a smaller phone, unfortunately, this is all you get. But other than that, I gotta say, overall, this phone is an absolute killer. I definitely think it's a great phone for its value, the performance, the specs, what it offers. I don't know how the sales are in the US right now, but I do know in other countries, this phone is selling like hotcakes. So if you guys do want to get yourself a new Nothing 3A, I will leave a link in the description below. If you are a pro user, if you want something more intense than this phone and you're willing to spend the money, they do have a pro version of this for maybe $100 more. So you can't go wrong with either phone. I think this is definitely something that can get you by with everything that you want it to do. That is my review on the new Nothing 3A. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like and a comment below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.